The full episode is now available on Patreon and YouTube memberships. Please see the link in the description for more details.
And speaking of random character moments, we got to talk about Starlight and how she's probably the most idiotic, or at least the most insane character in
Mm-hmm.
television history, and I'll tell you why. Her whole thing for the first half of the season is that Homelander is too dangerous. He's got to go, and she's being held hostage. Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And then they finally get something that can kill Homelander, Soldier Boy, and then all of a sudden, nah, we got to stop Soldier Boy instead. Yo, are you serious? Like, what are you saying? Like, the airplane video was like your trump card against him, and when you threatened to use it, he gave you like his whole manifesto on how to wipe out the entire country, and it was a fairly detailed plan too. And now we have to stop Soldier Boy instead. This is the dumbest thing ever of all time, because it would, like, if you think about it, it would take Homelander a mere hours, maybe a few days to a week tops, to kill about a quarter of the U.S. population, tens of millions of people. But Soldier Boy would take him maybe a few years to even come close to 100,000 people that he could wipe out. Homelander can fly, has laser beam eyes, super hearing, X-ray vision, yada yada. You can't escape Homelander. But with Soldier Boy, you could just, like, apparently throw a 1960s Playboy magazine at him and he'll be distracted for a bit. Also, she kind of forgot about Supersonic, her best bro, who she kind of forgot about very quickly, like halfway through the season. So, yeah, what happened with that?
Yeah. No, it's a little, it's the switch to suddenly everybody deciding that they need to get Soldier Boy is a little off, and team up to stop Soldier Boy is a little off, because it's kind of weird, because they release Soldier Boy, so really, like, all of this was their fault. like like they created their own problem.
Yeah.
They released Soldier Boy to try to kill Homelander, and then realized that they've released something worse, and they need to stop it.
Is Soldier Boy worse than Homelander? Soldier Boy can't fly or shoot lasers. He can shoot that big beam out of his chest, but that's like a one-off.
And I mean, he's insane and a horrible person, but, like, he's not as crazy and, like, doesn't have the potential for as much harm as Homelander. So
Right.
I think you're right that it's really hard to have somebody be worse than Homelander.
Also, Starlight is kind of selfish in the sense. So before she finds out that V kills you,
Yeah.
she got really upset that Huey took it to have temporary powers. Some people have argued that the reason Starlight didn't want Huey to be a soup is because Huey represents everything that's pure in her life. But I also understand where Huey's come from. Like, to make it a little personal, you're a tall guy. I'm sure you've never really had this issue. But as someone
Sure.
who's not a tall guy, feeling emasculated is like a nightmare of mine.
Oh, yeah.
And I can understand something on Huey's level where she is in trouble and he can only sit there and watch while all these terrible things happen to her from all these outside forces, and he can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Taking that V is that first step to trying to save her. And yes, I understand, once again, Huey is the only thing pure and real in her life in a world of, like, these insane guys who can, like, laser beam each other. Sure.
Right.
But at the same time, like, don't get on Huey's case and completely be okay with Kimiko doing it. Come on.
Yeah. No, I mean, the Kimiko shit. Don't even get me started on fucking Kimiko plot. Like, fuck that whole
You
plot.
could argue she had it before, and, her intentions were, I guess, a bit more pure.
It's just,
than
it's
Huey's.
just for a created plot. Like, she needed her powers back for an absolutely created, contrived, like, situation. But, like, that she didn't even know would be coming. So it's just, like, fuck her plot. Fuck those characters. Like, that's
Kimiko
a bad part.
Frenchie was the weakest thing for me this season.
Yeah, I also think the Deep was very, very weak this season. But I think but I'm talking about, like, the main theme of Huey and the whole overall premise of the show, which is about insecurity and power, right? Like, and how we want to be loved, but we also want power, And we feel insecure when there's power imbalances and things like this, and power corrupting people, and all these sorts of explorations of power are very intriguing. And yeah, like Huey's supposed to represent that. Like yeah, he's supposed to feel emasculated. Like his girlfriend is constantly saving him. And he's like this, I don't know, like unemployed. Well, I guess he's briefly employed and feels somewhat powerful there, but like, you know, he doesn't feel useful ever. He feels like emasculated in all situations. And she's much hotter than he is. All sorts of weird things, you know? Like you know, you can understand his feelings, but at the same time, like his insecurity manifests, you know, in him. He you know, he has a tiny little bit of Butcher, and then you can see the insecurity of Butcher like taken to the fucking extreme. Like what happens when you're so fucking insecure that you have to pretend to be a man in all like references of your life? Like you've got to be a man at all times, like at all fucking times. Like how fucking pathetic and horrible that would be to be Butcher. And they made it they did it brilliantly this season, exploring who he is. I fucking hate comic book Butcher. I hate the overall premise of Butcher. I think he's really fucking stupid, because
oh shit, really?
Because the only thing that Butcher needed was a good woman to bring him back from everything, and that, you know, his wife had saved him, and it's like fuck you, like somebody as psychotic as like not therapy, or like he's a fucking psychopath raised by a psychopath. Like finding a good woman to save him is not going to fucking, like, you know,
fix all of his issues.
Yeah, fix all of those person's issues. Like that's ridiculous. And that's comic book Butcher. Like, oh, if his wife hadn't been killed, everything would have been fine. It's like, no, you've established him as a fucked up character. Like he's fucked up. And
that's also a weird mentality to have, that like this one person is the key to like your mental stability.
Yeah, right. Something
like, what the fuck is that?
Something external like that. Yeah, like, you know, it's dreadful. It's the comic book Butcher is just a ridiculous and fucking Carl Urban is doing his greatest, and I think the writers are doing their best here. But his attachment to his wife and the idea that his wife is the person that could have saved him is fucking stupid. But they did some fucking great backstory on him, on Butcher this season, and Carl Urban nailed it, and he's a fucking horrible human being, and he represents like male insecurity to like the nth degree, as does Homelander, because Butcher and Homelander are the same fucking person. That's the whole point, right?
By the way, so like in regards to Soldier Boy, who he represents, so, you know, Homelander's Trump, AOC, you know, Newman, Mallory, Hillary Clinton, I guess once again Ashley, maybe Kellyanne Conway, I guess. Soldier Boy represents the boomers, the toxic asshole boomers out there who were raised by even more toxic assholes, and that cycle is just continuing on. And you could also argue that Soldier Boy's group, Payback, represents the real America, or what America's becoming. You have Black Noir as the minority, Crimson Countess, the single woman trying to struggle and make it ahead, the Mindbender guy, you could argue that's mental illness, and this is just the boomer mentality rejecting all of that. You know, mental illness, shut up.
I think it's more like that, you know, obviously boomers are diverse, and I think like the stereotype of the boomer is that like, oh, we had this like simpler, and it's even before boomer, it's like even like Greatest Generation kind of stuff, like like this simpler when men were men kind of time, and then they're all the actual collateral of that, you know, of that era. You know, people say, oh, the good old days, and you forget, like, well, your fucking good old days had, like, abused black people, abused women, people with, like, PTSD from the wars, like, a lot of fucking bad shit, like, came out of this supposedly pure time of America when men were men.
Right, and he represents that. And, like I said, his group is him, you know, telling Black Noir to stay in line and to keep in line, how they view black people, and, single women out there working, trying to make it ahead,
Yeah.
keeping them down. The Mindbender guy, which in my opinion, represents mental illness with how when they encountered him, fuck
Yeah,
that
I
shit.
felt I was just like, Huey, get that fucking guy out of there. You promised to fucking get him out of there. And then Huey fucking hesitates and the guy gets killed. Like, Huey should be feeling really guilty about that. Fucking, I just knew it too. I was like, oh fuck, he's totally gonna die.
The show also did a good job of making you kind of sympathize with Homelander towards the end, and even Soldier Boy.
You do sympathize with them because they had such horrible lives that you're just like, fuck, no wonder they're that way. Like you'd wish there was actually a way to fix them. Yeah, it's pretty sad. I thought the A-Train plot was whatever. I thought the Deep plot was just like, it's the same fucking note that they've been doing now for 3 seasons. Like, he's gonna fuck a fish and then he's gonna feel sad because he's not respected. And it's like, what are you doing with the Deep? Like, you can't just
well, he's a sexual assault asshole, so they have to humiliate him forever. He's just gonna be the punchline forever, which that's fine with. I'm fine with him being the punchline forever, but every time he's on screen, any of his scenes take away from like the other stuff I want to be watching.
Yeah, I mean, you do feel bad for him, and it's weird because they make all of these jokes about the fish, but like we're now establishing them as sentient animals. And so, like, when Homelander, like, makes him eat the octopus, and he's sitting there being like, guys, he's like, screaming for his life. Like, this is really actually horrific. Like, you're like, oh, my God. like, because the Deep feels a lot of sympathy for these sentient fish. And you're supposed to laugh and be like, ha, ha, fish don't feel feelings. And, like, he's a douche. But, like, he actually does really fucking care about these sentient animals and feels horrible when they die. It's kind of weird. Like, I get it. Like, he had the sexual assault situation for a season, and he's self-centered, but then he's not self-centered because he cares about the fish a lot. It's kind of
But
weird.
he's also an idiot.
Like,
And Homelander's crony, so
right, and Homelander willing to
well, he did murder that guy at the end.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we'll see how I don't think they'll ever do anything with him, but wouldn't it be fucking cool if like the Deep was actually the person that ends up killing Homelander in the end? Like Homelander's underwater.
Homelander can't swim.
Or just like, like, because don't they establish that Aquaman is like Superman strong underwater?
Yeah, that is true. You're right. And
so like underwater, shouldn't the Deep be able to take Homelander?
Yeah, and I would love it if Homelander can't swim, because when has he ever had to be in the ocean? He flies.
Yeah, why would he need to?
Why would he need to?
When would there have been time?